Good afternoon, everyone. Just chilling to some music at the moment. And this is mainly because I was actually supposed to be working 10 till 4 this week, Wednesday to Friday. But because of networking problems, I've been released early. But of course, you didn't come here to find out about my schedule or to find me jamming. No. I'm going to be linking in the description below a few articles regarding the same story, because there have been varying figures for this one. I'm going to be talking about the insulate Britain wankers again, because it turns out that their protests over this last year or so have actually cost us, the taxpayer, somewhere in the region of either 4.3 to 4.5 million pounds, and has had to have 6,650 to 7,000 officers deployed to stop these wankers from blocking the roads. They can say, oh, it's a protest. I call it an obstruction, quite frankly. A protest would involve being somewhere, not blocking the roads, not being a general nuisance, because you're not supposed to block the main roads, as it says in the Highway Code Act 1989. But unfortunately, they don't care about that. They also didn't care about the ambulances that were in the road that potentially had people who were critically ill. One of them, I believe, I'm trying to remember this now, there was a woman who ended up partially paralyzed through a stroke on the back of these tossers, and there was someone else who wanted to see, I think it was their mother, in hospital when she had cancer. And these guys were obstructing them. They've caused people to miss job interviews and potentially lose jobs. They have stopped people from being able to do their daily routines, such as going out to pick up the kids or drop off the kids or whatever with the kids. And they've just been an obnoxious nuisance towards everyone. It really is vindicative of what these assholes are capable of. I don't know why my screen is all purple and everything. I wonder if I can fix that. It's doing something weird to me. Anyway, these guys have been a public nuisance, and I have gone as far to call them insulate terrorists. Oh, there we go. That seems to have fixed the problem. Don't know why the screen's popping out up there. I'll have to speak to my friend about that. Anyway, these guys have been a general nuisance, and I have been calling them insulate terrorists, because that is, in my humble opinion, what they are. They may not come classed under it by definition of violent acts and terrorisms and bombing targets and all that shit, but they are causing major disruptions. Maybe not of an electronic system by definition, but they are disrupting the public and the government and emergency services in general, all of which need to function to form a flowing operational country. So, anybody who wants to try and debunk that, argue your way out of that one. Especially when you consider some of these tossers were sticking their hands to the road with super glue, or to police vans with super glue. And let's see how obstruction of justice goes down in a court of law. Now, as said, there will be multiple articles of the same story in the description below, because, as said, I want to show that there are people saying different figures. Alex Belfield, I believe, tried to say it was 4.5 million people. But some other articles, like The Sun, have said 4.3. But the point I'm trying to make is, these wankers need to be paying the taxpayer's bill. We should not be paying for it. I sure as shit don't want to pay what little hard-earned cash I get from doing my 9 to 5, or in this case 10 to 4, or in this day's case 10 to 12, but I digress. But we shouldn't have to pay out of our hard-earned taxpayers' money for a few sheeple from the Extinction Rebellion movement to basically cause major disruptions and potentially cause people to lose their jobs. That is not how it works here. If anybody should foot the bill of this £4.5 to £4.3 million that were wasted, 3.4 to 3.6 of it spent on the actual officers, 600,000 was actually spent on the deployment of vehicles, and then another 300,000 was spent for overtime for these police officers. Now, as I said, I'm not a big fan of the police right now, but they were at least trying to do what little they could. Though, frankly, I think they would have done a better fucking job if they actually, ironically, I normally don't say this, but it would be better off if they actually turned a blind fucking eye and let the British public deal with them. And then they'll soon fuck off, because they won't want the British people dealing with them, because we'll do a far better job than the police ever will. I'm not the sort of person who advocates for violence, but I am the sort of person who would say, I am all for the public doing a public service for the British people. I will say that 100%. I don't think they should be violently attacked. And I'm not exactly fond of groups of people getting inked. But I'll happily support people who want to drag these people off the roads, because that isn't technically violence. You are just moving an obstruction. You are moving trash out of the road. Or terrorists, if you want to use that, considering I've said it. But again, I digress. It should come down to them to pay the bill. Hell, why not just get Olly Roc's father to pay for it, considering his parents were actually trying to do a crowdfunder. I actually need to check that, because that's something I needed to give an update on. Anyway, they actually put a crowdfunder up for Olly Roc. Yeah, help this one. We successfully raised £9,405 with 232 supporters in 28 days. I must be honest, I personally wanted to make a £1 donation. Please bear with me. So that I could then say, this wanker does not deserve a single penny. If anything, his crowdfunder should partly foot the bill, because he was doing criminal activities by actively disrupting Britain. Crowdfunder even removed an Insulate Britain crowdfunder beforehand of about £50,000-60,000 because they were worried it was being used to fund criminal activity. And yet, they allowed this guy to have his crowdfunder continue. Was it being used for criminal activity? I can't 100% say yes. But I can't exactly sit here and say all of the £9,000 would have been put for his rent. But his father was a coffee magnate. Or magnate? No. Well, yeah, just stick him on a fridge. Anyway, he was a coffee magnate. He was worth over £2.5 million. And given he was looking after all of his other sons and daughters, and he did say he wanted his Olly Roc to be independent, but the bottom line is, he does not deserve a penny. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Likewise, if you can't pay the fine, don't do the crime. This arsehole has no legitimacy to this money. His father could have easily given him the £9,405 and been like, here you go, I'll cover your rent. This once, mind you, because it was an emergency. It's not like, oh, Dad, please give me some money so that I can pay my rent for this month. No, he was in prison. But my point is, he does not deserve that because he's technically a criminal, which means crowdfunder have willfully allowed a criminal to get funding from the British public. And as I said, they already removed the other one, £50,000 to £60,000, that they thought was, and it had, been planned to be used for criminal activity. So make these wankers pay for it. Make every single Insulate Britain prick who decided to block the road pay that money. Because we shouldn't. How would you feel if you were given like £100,000 bill for somebody else's crimes and they said, you have to pay for it? I bet you would be up in arms for it. I would be fucking up in arms for it. I would be out for blood because I wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't be seen dead paying for something that I didn't do. Now, if I went out and did the shit that Insulate Britain are doing, then yeah, I'll say, I'll admit my mistake, I fucked up, I'll pay the bill. But we should not have to pay for something to cover the arses, to wipe the arses clean, metaphorically speaking, of these people who are more than willing to sit in the road, or in some cases, stand in the middle of the road and endanger other people's lives, which is part of the terrorism. These guys are willing to put their own lives in danger as well as other people. They are not victims, they are terrorists. And the fact that the police unfortunately didn't do a good enough job, and in fact were more than willing to stop somebody bagpiping in their faces, rather than get the Insulate Britain wankers out of there, is ludicrous. It's disgusting. It blows my mind in some cases to see these wankers get away with so much. How would anybody feel if they were treated in this situation, but they were justified? Again, they'd be up in arms for it. It pisses me off when I see this two-tier policing, where the police are willing to basically treat anything left-wing or Marxist as a kid gloves approach, while anybody who's actually patriotic, cares about their country, or is anything other than left-wing, gets the police brutality approach. The fuck you approach, basically. If you can't do your job, we'll do it for you. Because we are not going to pay this bill for these wankers to go and break the law again. Hell, there's even an article out there that I'll link in the description below that says these guys are going to continue these protests in 2022. If that does not show you how unrepentant these bastards really are, then nothing ever will. As I said, it brings my blood to a boil when I hear this shit. They have no right whatsoever asking for our taxpayer money. They have no right to ask us to pay their own bills. And they sure as shit have no right to ask for our money to fund their criminal activities. It's just a shame, as I said before, that these guys are being charged with contempt of court rather than being charged with that, as well as the breaches of the Highway Code Act 1989. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If they ever come down to Norwich, as long as I am out of work or within my lunch hours, I will happily take these bastards out of the road myself. I will drag them with the help of friends if necessary, because they have no right blocking the main roads. And it's clear the police can't do their job, that we, the British people, hire them to do, to protect and serve. They took an oath under law to protect and serve us. They have only served the government, not the people. I'm sure there are a few people out there that are actually supportive of the people. I'm sure they're not all completely hard of thinking. I'm sure they're not all rapists, murderers, do stuff with kids, and aren't as thick as two short planks. But it's just I haven't seen one, other than one time, which I'm not going to describe because that's my private life. Other than one time, I have not seen a single copper actually show themselves as not being a scumbag, quite frankly. The point I'm trying to make is, as I said, these people have committed criminal activities and they have no right asking for us to pay their bill. They have no right asking for our taxpayer money to fund criminal activity, and they have no right whatsoever to continue blocking the roads. And I personally would put Insulate Britain down. I would put them as a proscribed terrorist group at this point. Sure, they don't bomb places. Sure, they don't have absolutely malicious intent yet for disrupting the people. That it's not like they're going out there with a gun and shooting people or stabbing people or setting cars and shit on fire. But they are causing major disruption akin to it. And as such, we should take that very seriously. And what's ironic is a lot of these wankers, I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts, drive eco-unfriendly cars. Or do a lot of eco-unfriendly shit themselves. All because all they want to do is push this agenda of being more eco-friendly, get houses to be more eco-friendly and all that bollocks. And they do this in the heat of the Poison XIX shenanigans. You know, with the old Greek variant that's basically a common cold and nothing else. That, yes, it's caused a lot of infections, but has it caused a lot of deaths? No. If it's even caused any at all. And the thing is, it's also giving us a considerable amount of herd immunity as well. But I don't want to talk about Poison XIX, because that's not what this is about. This is about the Insulate Britain movement. And we need to be coming down hard on these fuckers. As soon as we give them the stick, they'll quickly learn they are not going to get away with this kind of crap. We've been too soft as a nation. Boris has been a complete failure as Prime Minister, him and his treacherous ilk in the houses of treachery. And we need a pro-English party. One that cares for its own people, that isn't going to be like Sadiq Khan, who is more interested in giving houses in London to dinghy divers and people from Afghanistan, rather than those poor homeless veterans who some of them look like they're living in body bags, and leave them to rot on the streets. No. We need to sort this shit out. And if you, the police, won't do your job and sort these Insulate Britain people out as quickly and efficiently as possible, as I said before, one warning, get off the road or get arrested. And if they don't comply or try to be clever, jail. And then, once they've had 24 hours to stew, slap a good fine on them and make them pay for it, not us. And then we'll see how quick they are to reform. My guess is they won't at all. Unless they're getting some Saudi money somewhere, which wouldn't fucking surprise me, let me tell you. But that's my thoughts on the whole situation. We need to come down hard on these people. We need to teach them a lesson and show them that this kind of treachery and this kind of bullshit is not tolerated here. Because if we don't come down hard on them, if we do not show them exactly what will happen to them if they continue, they will stop at nothing until someone gets killed, and then the British people really will take the law into their own hands. My name's Dabima, also known as Abatha X, and I am, as always, very, very bad news for the fake news media, the crooked police, and this corrupt establishment. And of course, most importantly, the Insulate Britain terrorists who continue to be defiant against the British people. fuck you, Insulate Britain.